Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Safika Razak, and I will explain about the introductions. The first one is the background of the study. The traditional classroom environment has long been a staple of the educational landscape. However, in recent decades, educators have increasingly explored innovative pedagogical approaches to enhance student engagement and learning outcomes. Gamification, the strategic use of game element in non-game contexts, has emerged as a promising strategy within this movement. The roots of gamification in education can be traced back to the early days of learning theories. Behaviorism, a school of thought emphasizing the role of reinforcement in learning, laid the groundwork for gamification principles. Pioneering psychologists like B.F. Skinner explored the use of rewards and punishment to shape behavior, concepts that resonate with the points, badges, and leaderboards commonly found in games. However, the formalization of gamification as an educational approach is a more recent development. In the early 2000s, researchers like Carl Kapp began exploring the potential of game mechanics to motivate learners and enhance knowledge acquisitions. Their work, along with contributions from others like RZ, Marzeki, helped solidify the theoretical underpinnings of gamification in education. The rise of digital technologies further fueled the gamification movement. Educational games and simulations became more prevalent, showcasing the potential for interactive learning experiences. Mobile technologies' ubiquity opened doors for incorporating games like elements like points, badges, and leaderboard into traditional classroom settings. Today, gamification in education encompasses a broad spectrum of practices. It can involve incorporating games like elements into existing lesson plans, designing entirely new gamified learning experiences, or utilizing educational games for a specific learning objective. The definition of gamification, teaching, and learning. In the realm of education, gamification, teaching, and learning represent a transformative approach that leverage the captivating elements of games to enhance the educational experience. It's not about simply incorporating video games into the classroom, but rather strategically applying game-like mechanics and principles to make learning more engaging, motivating, and ultimately more effective. At its core, gamification teaching and learning involves weaving elements commonly found in games, points, badges, leaderboard, challenges, narrative, and even virtual rewards into the educational fabrics. Imagine a history lesson where students participate in a simulated historical event, earning points for completing tasks and collaborating strategically to achieve a common goal.
Research design. The study examines how gamifications improve students' learning methods, the elements that influence them, and the essential factors that determine their learning efficiency. The study used descriptive statistics to establish the frequency, percentage, mean, and standard deviation of responder demographic rates and to examine gamification objectives. Researchers' intervention is low since study participants have a set of time to return the questionnaire after providing input. Sampling. There were three of them, which is firstly experimental design and populations. The study is experimental and quantitative. The demographic includes all UiTM Shah Alam and Puncak Alam students. So these studies was placed under different courses from March to August 2024. Selection of sample. There were 29 students of them, which is 6 men and 23 is women. Selecting students for experimental group was methodical. And thirdly, classroom setting and length of time. All students use Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams, Telegram, and YouTube in class and online. Courses lasted 14 weeks in the semester. The experimental portion, demographic information on the participants and the consistent learning environment for all students are explained in this technique.
So I want to share some important point about our educational program. This point help us understand and improve how students learn. So as you can see, student judgment is measure how involved students are in the program. It has reliability score of 0.820, which is good. For the next is motivation to learn. This check how eager students are to learn. It has reliability score of 0.750, which is acceptable. For the knowledge retention is look at how well students remember what they learn. It has reliability score of 0.780, which is good. For the class interaction, this measure how often well student and teacher interact. It has a reliability score of 0.810, which is good. With learning experience, this check how happy students are with their learning experience. It has reliability score of 0.830, which is good. For the demographic analysis of our respondents, for gender distribution, we have 50 respondents, 20 are male, 40%, 30 are female, equal to 60%. For the age group distribution, age group 25 to 30 years are 5 respondents, equal to 10%, 31 to 40 years, 15 respondents, equal to 30%, 41 to 50 years, 15 respondents, equal to 30%, above 50 years, 50 respondents, equal to 30%, marital status, single, 10 respondents, 20%, married, 35 respondents, 70%, divorce, 5 respondents, 10%. Educational qualification, degree, 20 respondents, 40%, master, 30 respondents, 60%, and our respondents are diverse in gender, age, marital status, and education.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Nu'anis Hadijah binti Muhammad Sayuti and I will present the chapter 5, which is the conclusion and recommendations. I will start with providing an integrated summary and laying the way for future initiative in utilizing gamification to promote educational result. This part provides a synthesis of insight that were required from our research. For research objective, firstly, to determine the impact of gamification on student motivation and engagement in the learning process. This research has the potential to revolutionize education, transforming classroom into engaging landscape where students actively pursue knowledge. Second is to assess the effectiveness of gamification in improving learning outcomes and academic performance, which this comprehensive analysis will help us determine if gamification can truly be a game changer for education, empowering students to not just be enthusiastic learners but also achieve stronger academic results. Lastly, research objective the last is to investigate the long-term sustainability of the effects of gamification in the classroom. This research will help us develop sustainable gamification practices that can truly revolutionize education in the long term. The limitation of study are respondent willingness, inaccurate information, and lastly, time constant. The implication of the study involves the teacher, also the management, versus the student roles. So for the recommendations are firstly, personalized learning experience. Secondly, professional development for educators. Thirdly, continuous assessment and feedback. Lastly, long-term impact studies. All the recommendation is for the improvement of the gamifications, for the impact between the student and also the educators, which is the teachers lah. So if from this conclusion and recommendation, we can say that the impact of gamification is quite bigger and high in this educational aspect, and it's important actually to go through the research and implement it as fast as possible because students needs this sort of thing to learn and become a better person.